Hi, today we'll be talking about the First Amendment, and I'm just going to start with a little quote from the First Amendment in the Constitution, which states, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of the press or the right of the people peacefully to assemble and to petition the government for a readdress of grievances. Now, this means that the government cannot mandate a certain religion or news source of the United States citizens. And that's very important because if the United States didn't have this, then the government could take full control over the civilians that inhabit the U.S. James Madison, the founder or the father of the Constitution, proposed these 12 amendments. Ultimately, that became the 10, known as the Bill of Rights. But he was not always convinced of the importance of the Bill of Rights until his mentor, say Thomas Jefferson, was able to convince him and change his mind that the freedoms described in the First Amendment were of particular concern for Jefferson. This is inspired by the work of European Enlightenment philosophers such as John Locke and Caesar Beccari, which is a little bit of a kind of like difference from the United States goal in general, which was to break away from the British, but they still took ideas from their great government because while it wasn't ideal for them, it still worked in some ways, which is, again, another example of freedom of speech.
Democracy, press, historically, and I think still today, is a major mechanism that we count on to gather information and disseminate information. Those are the functions, and from a cultural standpoint, that has all kinds of importance. From a core political standpoint, the press is the entity that is charged with keeping us all informed about what's going on. Reporting on a complicated piece of social policy legislation is really hard and really important, and that's what the journalistic profession, in my mind, from a democratic standpoint, that's the greatest value that the journalistic profession adds to our public discourse. Without that, without a strong, free, independent press, are still going to have a lot of commentary, still going to have a lot of opinions flying around, but those opinions will not be grounded in widely available, verifiable, contestable information, and it'll just be a bunch of people yelling at each other.
To make sure that things that we get from the press are accurate, are non-biased, are impartial, and
But while freedom of speech, religion, and everything else is great, First Amendment-wise, it's such a great amendment, there's a problem today. The FCC has just recently, well, not recently, but have put up a thing to repeal net neutrality, and this creates a problem because if it is repealed, then the whole freedom that comes with the internet can be limited by a internet service provider, which completely contradicts in a way the importance of the First Amendment. Because if, say, a internet service provider was like, say, Verizon was totally against Democrats, they could just make it so that if you look anything up that's Democrat, you just cannot. It's too slow. It's just you can't. It's not even loadable, and the FCC is just trying their hardest to get rid of this law because it just makes more money. But money can be gained other ways, but without infringing upon the First Amendment. And if this does go through, I hope the congressmen will see the just blatant unconstitutionalness that is this amendment and how it's completely devastating the First Amendment. Not directly, but it's really doing it. So that's why I'm thinking that First Amendment is getting destroyed today by this FCC's ability to repeal net neutrality.
It's been treated as a public utility. Internet service providers can charge you to use it, but they have to treat all data on the internet the same. They can't charge differently by user, content, website, platform, application, type of attached equipment, or method of communication. But that's about to change. The biggest obstacle opponents of this repeal face is explaining the significance of this change to the general public. I really think that if everybody understood what's about to happen, everybody would be really pissed off. But for now, it's mostly just Reddit. My favorite explanation has always been comparing it to electricity, which is also presently regulated as a utility. So you pay your electric company for how much electricity you use, but they can't charge you different rates for heating the house as opposed to turning on the lights. There are 10 million different analogies just like that people have tried to use to bring attention to this internet apocalypse, but very few of them get across the gravity of the situation. This should fill you with an overwhelming sense of dread. But in my experience, the technicalities of an electric bill don't always properly convey the gravity of the situation. There is, however, a very, very easy way to get this across to gamers, and this latest Battlefront EA controversy has shown us how powerful this community is when it gets riled up. So you should repeat this to every gamer you know. It is microtransactions for your internet.
Now, microtransactions in themselves are a censorship in a way to freedom of speech, but when the internet takes a part of microtransactions, that's when it really just destroys the First Amendment. And if the net neutrality does go through, that it's really destroying the First Amendment and everything that it's about. So vote, help save net neutrality, talk to your senators, and thank you for listening to this video, Dr. Lloyd.